Look out, gals. It's almost 4 o'clock. Hello, gals, and welcome to Sober Living Snippets, where we do our best to get our alcohol-free life going so we can feel healthier, have happier relationships, and some inner peace. Those are the 3 areas we're looking after here, and they make up our whole lives. So welcome to Sober Living Snippets. I'm Becca Jacobson, and I have a nice little snippet for you today. This episode is prompted by a recent class I taught on triggers and cravings. It was really an eye-opener for me. It was an interesting class. I learned a lot. Yes, that's right. I taught a class and learned a lot. That's how it works. One of the newest things the new Becca has that the old Becca never had was teachability. Learning all the time, learning from my clients, learning from everything that comes my way. I try to look at it as, how is this for me? What is this here to teach me? Well, the class I taught on triggers and cravings made me realize that I could be offering more in this area. That's what it felt like for me at the end of that class as I was speaking with women and hearing some of their stories. I'm going to give you a rundown of what I taught in that class and then some more. So if you were there, there's more. Stick around. In the class, I taught what's the difference between a trigger and a craving. So we'll start there. First of all, basically speaking, now generally speaking, in this most simplified version of the difference is that one is physical and one is psychological. We get triggered emotionally or psychologically. Our minds get triggered. We see something, smell something, hear something. It's a certain time of day, a certain person, a certain place. Anything like that can trigger us, and it's a psychological thing. It's in our minds. We're like, oh, look at where I'm now in this specific place. This is where I usually drink, and you're triggered. Whereas a craving is usually physical. Your body wants booze. It's just like we can crave sugar. We want that dopamine hit. Physically, we are triggered. Now, that's a very simplistic, but close enough for us. That's as deep as we need to go to understand it. The more important thing that I want to point out is that if you are a person who actually has what they call these days alcohol use disorder. If you've been in snippet land any length of time, you know that I'm not wild about labels, but okay. These days they're calling it alcohol use disorder. Back in the day, they called it alcoholism. Doesn't matter, both are labels. But the significance here is that for people with that quote unquote disorder, what it means is that when we put alcohol in our bodies, it creates a physical craving that wasn't there before. That's the key difference between a so-called normal drinker and a person who has alcoholism or alcohol use disorder. We put alcohol in our bodies and our bodies react by wanting more physically. It's a physical feeling. Oh, sure, we're probably wanting it mentally too, but it's an actual physical feeling. That was a feeling I lived with all my life. But the thing about that feeling, that craving, is as soon as the alcohol is gone, cleaned out of your system, which usually takes a day or two, depending on how long you've been drinking, what kind of binge you've been on. But as soon as you've cleaned out your system and there's no alcohol in the body, that craving is gone. It just disappears. It's only there when you already have alcohol in your body. So, in that case, then the solution to this problem is simple. Just don't take the first drink, right? And that's what you'll learn in the 12-step program. They like to talk about this. Don't take that first drink and you won't be craving. But there's a problem, kids. The first drink is triggered psychologically. So here we are, caught in this trap. Sure, I'm not craving it physically right now, but my mind is going berserk. It's 4 p.m. and I need a drink. It's time for my wine. So this is the mess we end up in. This is the mess, the triggers and cravings mess. So I talked about this at the class, and I also shared the pickup method that I share with pretty much everybody. It's on my YouTube channel. I've talked about it here on the snippets. Pickup, P.I.C, is the acronym, and a pickup is simply pause, inhale, and connect. This is my way of telling you that the way to get past a craving or a trigger is to pause, meaning interrupt the pattern. Pause, stop, do something different. So let's just go with what the example we're using. Let's say it is 4 p.m. and that's when you usually drink, and all of a sudden you're wanting your wine and you're in the same place that you usually drink, let's say your kitchen. In order to put the P into play in that moment, you would turn around and get the hell out of your kitchen. Pause meaning interrupt the pattern. Go do something else, move, change, interrupt the pattern. Pause, stop dead in your tracks. Don't keep moving in the same direction, because that's going to lead you straight to a drink because you're triggered. You're on autopilot. So the P means pattern or pause. And by pattern, I mean change it, interrupt it. So you could do anything in this moment, but change directions from your usual routine, okay? The I stands for inhale, or in other words, take a couple of deep breaths. It's very hard to be triggered and anxious when we soothe the nervous system with several deep, slow breaths. This will slow us down and help us to think straight, so we're not just on autopilot running for that drink. And then the C is the one that usually catches people up. C is connect, and the P and the I won't work without it. Sure, you can slow down that trigger and that craving by pausing and breathing, but if you don't connect in that moment, you'll just end up back where you were. And connect presupposes the idea that you've got someone to connect with. This is when you quickly go to your group and your accountability partners, and you check in and say, oh my God, I'm triggered. It's like, help me. And you get the support. And by the time you've had a conversation in your connection group, your accountability group, you've gotten yourself through that trigger, through that craving. You've gotten past the moment, you've reached out, and you've overcome a trigger in the moment. It doesn't mean you won't get another one, right? But this C part, the connect part, is the solution to the problem. If you're willing to talk about your trigger and your craving in the moment when it's happening, you can get past it. But if you try and think your way out of it, you will lose the battle. Maybe not the first time, maybe not every time, but eventually. Because we can't talk ourselves out of a craving with the same mind that talked us into it. We're triggered by our minds. Our mind is saying, I need a drink. And then we try to use our minds and say, no, I don't. I don't want to drink. But I really want to drink. But no, but you don't. Yes, I do. That's crazy. Crazy kids. Don't do that. We have to get outside of our own heads and connect with somebody else. So I talked about that in the class as well. What am I going to add today that's new that we didn't talk about in the class? Well, it's very simple. I want to focus more on the I, and this is not disqualifying the C, but I want to focus more today on, do you have a way to calm the nervous system when you are triggered, which means that you're anxious, fearful, your nervous system is awake and on guard. You're the opposite of relaxed. So one of the most powerful things you can do to stop a trigger is move the body. Go for a walk, go for a swim, go for a run, grab your bike and go for a bike ride. And I've had women say to me, well, Becca, I'm triggered right before I start cooking dinner. How can I just suddenly go for a bike ride? And here's what I want to say to you. If your sobriety is important to you, you can ask somebody else to cook dinner that night and do it. Listen, when we decide that we need to do this, that we are going to literally save our lives, literally, then nothing else is more important than getting past that trigger. And if that means somebody else has to cook dinner, or you have to order in, or people have to wait an extra hour to eat, that's what it means. How willing are you to interrupt your cozy little life in order to get sobriety? For those of us who can't stop drinking, it really does come down to life or death. We've got elevated liver enzymes, but we're a mess. And yet we say, well, that would be inconvenient. It's inconvenient to save your life. So I would recommend to you, and this is what I did not talk about in the class, put together a trigger plan. What are you willing to do in that moment? First of all, you have to be willing to connect with others. So set up your accountability group in the beginning before you're triggered. You can't stand there in the middle of a trigger and go, help, somebody help me. Oh my God, who can I talk to? That ain't gonna work. And you tell your people, I'm no longer cooking dinner at 4 p.m. I'm gonna actually go to the gym. We're gonna eat an hour later for the next few weeks. Or you talk to your partner and say, I need you to put the rice on and I'll be back to do the rest of the meal an hour later or 45 minutes later. I don't know. Like, you be creative, you figure it out. But we're not even willing to interrupt our routines to break a pattern. Well, let me tell you something. Triggers live inside of routines. Let me say that again. Triggers live inside of routines. We are triggered because this is when we routinely drink. So you've got to change more than just your drinking. You have to be willing to change a huge part of your routine, because your alcohol is embedded in your daily routine. So those of you who want to keep your comfortable routine and just pull the alcohol out of it, it's not going to work. So sit down now, today, and say, how can I plan out a trigger routine, a routine that's going to interrupt the entire drinking pattern, not just the moments that I'm triggered? Listen, getting over alcohol is inconvenient. I get that, but it's also killing you. And if it's too inconvenient to save your own life and get sober and healthy and happy, then go ahead and kill yourself with alcohol, kids. I don't know what to say to that. Yeah, it's inconvenient, but so is dying young. So is ruining your life. So is wasting your time, which is exactly what alcohol is. It's a complete waste of time. So I would suggest to you, if you really want to know how to get through triggers and cravings, change your entire routine for a while. Not just your drinking, but your entire lifestyle has to change. Inconvenient or not, even if it disrupts other people, you've got to be willing to ask for what you need. Ask your partner, say to your partner, I get that this is going to suck for a while, but guess what? I'm not cooking dinner for the next couple of weeks. If that doesn't work, find another way. Find a way. Don't just give into it because it's inconvenient or somebody else might be put out. We're talking about your life here, kids. We are talking about your life. And if it's too inconvenient to save your own life, then I can't help you and nobody can. So to wrap this whole thing up, gals, I have bad news and good news for you. The bad news is that there is no magic cure for triggers and cravings. There's no magic cure. That's the bad news. The good news is there's two pieces of good news. The first is you can get past them by preparing in advance. And the second piece of good news is they do go away. Over time, if you're doing your work, you're doing your self-care, you're growing as a human, and you're doing your work in sobriety with the proper support, you will wake up one day and realize you don't get triggered anymore and you don't have cravings anymore. And that is a magical moment. How long does it take? It varies between people. For some people, it's just a matter of months. But you'll never know how long it's going to take for you until you jump in and go for it. So here's what I did. I created a trigger guide for you. A triggers guide. Yeah. This is a little guide that outlines basically everything that I've talked about here and walks you through how to set yourself up for success. And if you want to get your little paws on that guide, all you have to do is email the words trigger guide to Becca at beccajacobson.com, and I will shoot it right back to you. That's Becca at beccajacobson.com. Send me an email that says trigger guide, and I will send it back. And let's get you set up for success, because there's no point in being a victim of your own mind and your own emotions. Is there? No, there isn't. Thanks for coming for today's snippet, gals, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for popping in. Be sure to come back tomorrow so we can keep your head on straight. Sending you buckets of love.